Hi, welcome to BariNation, where we support the bariatric community with humor, humility, and honesty.
You've just tuned into a podcast that welcomes you into a community, a resource center, and a safe place that powers your journey towards personal wellness.
Our goal is you leave us today feeling hopeful, inspired, and ready to live your best bariatric life.
Hey, BariNation, it's April. We are entering into the very busy holiday season. And I got to say, I've been really impressed with my ability to stick with our 30-day walking challenge. I've gotten movement in every single day of the month of November. And the reason that that has happened is because I have the support of the BariNation membership community. Monique Coleman is one of our amazing movement experts. She's been going live every day, offering inspirational messages and tips and tricks for how we can stay consistent, even when life gets busy. We all need community. We all need help from our friends. This journey is not designed to be done alone, and you can find your people, find your community in BariNation. Join us at barination.mn.co. Hello, BariNation. Welcome back to another fabulous episode of the BariNation podcast. Today, I get to welcome back Kelly Broadwater. She is a new expert, and we are thrilled to have the opportunity to talk to her about holiday eating. Kelly is a psychiatrist with years of experience, really decades of experience, specializing in eating disordered and disordered eating. And our conversation is really today going to focus all around how we can lower the temperature when it comes to eating during the busy holiday season. But before we get into it, Kelly, I'd love to kind of turn the microphone over to you so you can introduce yourself to our friends, followers, listeners, and watchers.
Thank you. Yes, I'm so happy to be back talking to you today. As April mentioned, I am an eating disorder specialist and have been working with bariatric patients for over 2 decades now. Co-authored a book entitled Barieducated, and sharing my knowledge with other professionals about treating bariatric patients and especially looking at eating disorders and disordered eating in bariatric folks. So glad to be here.
Yep. I know every single time we have the honor of talking to you on the podcast, I leave with new information. My brain starts spinning at 1,000,000 miles an hour and I pick up something that I didn't know I needed during these conversations. So I know that that is going to happen today. And the first thing that we really want to talk about is a tool that I discovered maybe 2 years ago. And I literally stumbled upon it because I was kind of beating myself up mentally. I could not figure out why I was so panicked about the holiday eating that was coming up until I took the time and I actually added up how many days there were left in the year. And then I asked myself, but wait a minute, how many of these days am I actually going to be maybe doing some eating that falls outside of my normal bariatric eating style? And it dawned on me that I was panicking or freaking out over like 3 or 4 meals,
right?
Not even 3 or 4 days, right? So I was really like increasing the temperature on my own life when it didn't need to be. So I started calling it BariMath. We call it that in BariNation. And it's a great tool that we can use. So to summarize, right, in the months of November and December, we have 61 days, 30 days in November, 31 days in December. And as bariatric patients, we usually have about 5 eating opportunities a day. So if we do the math, there are 305 eating opportunities between November and December. And when we look at what we have coming up in November and December in terms of like holiday gatherings or like meals, holiday meals, right? Traditional meals, celebrations. For me, I'm looking at maybe like 5 or 6 meals out of 305.
Yeah.
So Kelly, like, is it right for us to kind of use this as a tool to go, okay, 5 or 6 eating opportunities out of 305. If I completely, let's say, go off the rails and I'm not following any of my bariatric guidelines in those 5 or 6 meals, am I going to derail my entire progress?
No, I love that you call it BariMath and that you actually did the math for me. So as a psychologist, I appreciate when someone else does the math. But I think that's a really good point. Like there becomes such a stress level. And I think that's a holdover from diet culture, right? Of like, and that diet mentality of like, oh, I'm going to be bad. I'm being bad. I'm off my diet. It's like, no, you follow your plan, follow your guidelines. And there may be a few eating occasions where you're not, to a T doing everything bariatric appropriate. But you don't have to let it derail you, like you said. Also too, like each day you have several new eating opportunities to like get it back together, right? So, don't just throw out the whole season, right? Of like, oh, well, it's the holidays. And I think that's one thing when you're being overly restrictive and deprived, like with diets, is that then you really look for those seasons of being bad because you're like, oh, I can just throw in the towel till the new year. And it's like, it doesn't have to be that way at all.
No, it's very much all or nothing thinking, which I think many of us are used to. And in some ways, it is comfortable to initially say, oh, it's the holidays. I can't think about, managing my bariatric eating. It's just too much. I just can't do it. And initially, it might feel like a relief or a release because it's like, okay, I don't have to think about this anymore. It's like I've given myself permission to not think about, staying aligned or my bariatric planning or eating during the holidays. But what I have found in my live patient experience is that it might feel good in the moment or for a day or two. But then I just start stressing about how far away from my bariatric life I have become. That starts really eating or gnawing at me. And then I also start to feel not great. So initially it feels like, oh, this is going to be good, but then it's not. So I find myself in this, or I used to find myself in this position of, oh man, I can't ever find comfort. I can't ever be comfortable because I can't be perfect with my bariatric eating. So I'm not even going to try. So I'm just going to not even think about it. But then that starts weighing me down. Right.
And no one is perfect with their eating 100% of the time ever. There's some math I can't do, right? That's just not reality. If you are creating a shame spiral of, oh, I'm not being perfect, or I'm not following the guidelines exactly, or I'm not or I can't have this, or I'm being bad, or I'm being good, that just doesn't do anything for your psyche. And I tell people, think about how this food is going to make me feel physically. When you sit down at Thanksgiving, there are going to be things that you probably eat that are presented as opportunities to eat that would make you feel really bad physically as a bariatric patient. So thinking about it in that terms instead of the calories or the amount, or just thinking about it in terms of how is this going to make me feel physically versus trying to, abandon a diet, follow a diet, either or.
Right. Yeah, all of those things. And the other thing that has really helped me as a patient as well is that when I look at all of the holiday celebrations that I have coming up with my family and with my friends, every single one of those meals or eating opportunities is protein forward, right? Thanksgiving is a protein forward meal. All of the holiday parties that I know that I'm going to be attending, they're all protein forward. Our Christmas celebration is absolutely protein forward. So I don't even need to panic about, oh my gosh, is that meal going to be aligned? I can already take that off of my brain because I know it's going to be aligned. And the other thing that I tap into is exactly what you said. I can look at what is being served at a holiday party or meal. I can see those items and I can ask myself that exact same question. Is eating that little tiny piece of pie going to make me feel okay? Or am I even in the mood to eat that item? And just to have that distance between, right, that food item and what I'm actually feeling is so helpful. Because if I look at something, let's say pie, and I know I actually don't want that, but I'm worried about, I don't know, maybe offending or making whoever made that item upset because I'm not enjoying it. My trick is I ask that person, I say, I am just so full. I cannot enjoy that pumpkin pie right now, but I'd love to take it home and enjoy it later, right? Can I take a slice to go? Because then I've acknowledged to this person, I'm really excited to eat or enjoy whatever you've made, but I can't do it now. So they feel great because they believe that I'm going to enjoy it. I get to take it home and enjoy it when the time is right for me. But I also can take it home and I don't have to eat it. right? I might not ever feel like I want to enjoy that. And that's okay. That person doesn't need to know that. And I get to make a decision in terms of what I'm going to do when I get home later.
Right. I think also too is not feeling like this is my only chance to ever eat this ever again. Right. So we think like, oh, this, pumpkin pie only comes around once a year. Well, it doesn't have to,
Yeah.
So don't feel like this is my only chance for that. And so that you overdo it. It's like if you're eating, more from an intuitive place, like you said, am I even in the mood for it? That's the word that triggered in my mind. Like, am I in the mood for it? Like maybe you are, maybe you aren't, or maybe it's like, instead of feeling like, I only get this once a year. It's like, well, you could make something pumpkin some other time of year if you wanted. There's no law that you can't have pumpkin in August if you want it. So, thinking about it in those terms too, that it's not your one and only chance to have this. So,
yes,
that causes people to overindulge.
Yep, absolutely. As patients and just as humans, it is easy. And many of us are disconnected from that intuitive side of ourselves and our own hunger cues, and learning to listen to ourselves, to really tap into that intuition that we have up here, can be a powerful tool that we use along our bariatric journey to really help us make decisions that are aligned for us. So I guess I hope that you're leaving this conversation having a little bit of a lower temperature when it comes to holiday eating. I hope that you absolutely use that tool of BariMath. Look at your calendar, add up the days that you have left, and really see how many eating opportunities are ahead for you that you might need to be a little bit cognizant of. Kelly, what's the one thing that you're hoping people are leaving this conversation with?
I think just looking at it, I like the BariMath a lot. I love that. And just looking at it too as like, okay, if what opportunities you have, what holiday parties or what holiday celebrations you have, be prepared, plan ahead a little bit. You may not know everything that's going to be available, but just, making sure that you go into it with the right mindset and game plan rather than just, kind of getting caught in a moment of panic and not being aware of what's going on. I mean, I think preparation and just mindfulness and intentionality can go a long way.
Couldn't agree more. Kelly, thank you so much for joining us today. This was an awesome conversation.
Thank you for having me.
That wraps up another empowering episode of the BariNation podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, keep the conversation going by joining the BariNation membership community, where you can attend live support events, access on-demand resources, and find a caring community.
Join us at barination.mn.co. If you found this podcast valuable, help us produce it by becoming a $5 monthly supporter at barinationpodcast.com.
And just remember, at the end of the day, you've got this, we've got you, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.